Okay, we're up and running. We've been talking a little bit before the tape started. Tape, that's a, never mind. Doesn't, it's not tape anymore, is it? The
We
recording
understand.
started. The recording started about getting together for a workshop on affinity, and somebody, we don't know who
Mhm.
yet, is going to volunteer to spear to take charge of getting something scheduled for that wherever it happens to be. But um, there is there has been an interest in doing something with Flickr, and we mentioned that at the last meeting. And there, I'm going to be available a week from today on the 25th. If you want to come to the church and be there in person, bring your laptop. Um, we are going to try to do a Zoom and in-person meeting. Um, and we haven't practiced with that yet, but there may be the possibility of it. And we'll send you a note if it's going to be on both. But as of now, it's going to be in person at the church. And the question is, um, the 2 hour time period, which works best, 10 to 12 or 11 to 1? No
10 to
preferences?
12.
10 to 12, yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay, that's one vote and that may take it. So,
Okay.
all right, let's set it for 10 to 12 a week from today.
Okay.
And again, bring your
Yeah,
laptop or
Chatham.
whatever, or we can share laptops um, to load the website and work through getting signed on and some of the things that I found valuable in terms of sharing things beyond this group. Okay, other announcements. Stephen, do you want to talk a little bit about what's been on your mind with Brevard, Brevard?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sure. I guess where that came up was wondering whether, our group would like to do, some trips out of the area that would require, an overnight or a couple of overnights. And the Brevard trip, I guess I was mentioning, I organize another group that does kind of outdoorsy kinds of things. And uh, I've gone myself, and my group has gone a couple times to a place near Brevard for fall leaves, and it's in the middle of kind of the best waterfall dense area in the state. And the place is called Sassy Goose. They're online with good pictures to know what's there, easily memorable name. And there are a couple of very nice cottages and a couple of cabins that are sort of two-person kinds of cabins. And as these things go, it's pretty cheap. When we fill up the place, I think the cost per person is running something like 10. So my wife would know this, about 100 a quarter a night there. And there are kitchens and so on and so forth. So it's not free, but it's not dreadful either. And it's just a gorgeous place. It's about a 50-acre inholding in a national forest with a nice 10-acre pond and so on. But as a place to shoot, waterfalls in fall colors, it's the best place I found, within striking distance of here by a good bit. But whether we did that place or not, the more general question is, would people like to entertain the idea of going for, weekend kinds of trips? Helen has mentioned that, those can be difficult in part because you're going to have to lease the place in advance. Like, say for the Brevard place, I've had that leased since the first of the year for the end of October. Which means, of course, that you're going to have to pay some money to hold the lease. But as far as the group is concerned, I guess what our group does is let us know if you want to come, please be serious about that. And at whatever our kind of cutoff date is, or, you can't get your money back after X date. By that time, on that date, you're committed.
Right.
If you said you want to go and you can't, well, it's kind of too bad, but, we're committed at that point. And it saves hassling with, what's happening with the money and so forth, because there's just an understanding up front about that. But, the nice thing I think about it is that, you can't shoot pictures all the time, which means there's lots of times to get to sit around with people and get to know each other well and talk about things. And it's just a pleasant social kind of way of, for me, spending a weekend or two that, particularly during COVID times when we've all been kind of isolated, has been a real kind of lifesaver for me in terms of, being able to keep in touch with folks who, I know and care about.
Sounds like something you'd have to arrange way ahead of time.
Yeah, it depends kind of on where, but yes, you kind of do. And the better a place it is, the more ahead of time, you have to arrange it. If we wanted, say, on the other hand, like, another kind of trip we make that is a good but not a fantastic photography trip is the Outer Banks in winter. There are a lot of birds there in wintertime. But I don't know that I would recommend it to the group because it's kind of long lens and tripod kind of time to do most of that. Those you can probably do on a month or so's notice. But if we wanted to do some of these other places that do tend to get booked up, months in advance, then we're looking at months in advance to be able to do it.
So, Stephen,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to proceed with this. We need to know what a time frame would be to begin with, and then comes what is available during that time frame. And if you will send me the link to the place you're thinking about, I
can send you the link. The name of it is just online. If you type in Sassy Goose, you'll get there.
Well, I will try to remember that, but a link would be helpful just in case I can't.
Okay,
But
do
I
that.
will,
Sure.
if
Yeah,
you
that's
give
fine.
me a link, I'll start looking at dates that we might propose when there is availability. And at that point, we can figure out how many might be interested in going and go from there. But
yeah, I mean, what we can, of course, do is, without much lead time, if we thought we just wanted to do it, you can always rent, motels or, the cheaper thing is always to rent, some kind of private home, because you can get a group of people and there it becomes, pretty inexpensive, and you also have kitchen facilities and so forth. But yeah, I'm happy to do that. And I guess my thought would be more kind of to think about kinds of trips we might like to make. Where would people like to go to shoot?
Not going anywhere.
I'm sorry?
I was talking to my dog, sir.
Oh, okay. Hello, dog. If there are places people would like to go, then I'd be happy to do some research on, what would kind of places might be available, what kind of time frame and that sort of thing. But the issue, I think, is, do we want to do that kind of thing? And if we do, then we can probably figure out, the wheres and how muches and so forth.
So of course the question is, who would be interested?
Yeah, I think that's, and in some ways it'd be easier, if people would think a bit about, is there a place, within striking distance of here that people would like to go to do some photography? Is there a kind of photography people would like to find a place to go to do? And, how far is too far and that sort of thing. But I think if we were just kind of talking as a couple of people, I would say to you something like, do you know someplace you'd really like to shoot that we could go together? what would be a fun place for us to go shoot a while? And I think if we can answer that kind of question, then we can, the how-tos and which particular places and so forth in terms of lodging is secondary to the place we want to shoot, I guess is what I'm suggesting.
Well, again, I'll check the availability.
Yeah,
And the other, well, the expert within this group about Brevard is Chuck, and Chuck camps, so it's not really using
yeah,
a brick and mortar
Yeah.
type place, but maybe Chuck can chime in.
sure.
when
I mean, I
when we
can,
get some dates
Stephen probably
available.
knows, I could certainly tell you about the waterfalls in that area. I love going out there, and my wife and I go out there frequently. But yeah, there's just lots of places to photograph waterfalls and wildlife.
Yeah.
Or just nature.
Another trip like my wife and I make pretty much every year is we'll do a South Florida trip for birds. And, that's a 3 or 4 day weekend kind of trip where, the lodging is pretty easy because, you're just kind of going from place to place, and it usually doesn't take that long to make arrangements for it. But again, it's a place where just, particularly if you have to like to shoot birds, it's, I've heard different bird photographers from around the world say South Florida in the winter is probably as good as it gets any place in the world. And, I think that's maybe so. It just, lots of great things, easily photographed, very tame. It's, set up kind of job. But, I guess I would invite people to kind of think about, are there places that would be fun to go together? And whether we can do that as a large group or somebody could just say, hey, I'm going to go to do this. Like, I might say, hey, I am going to go to Florida, roughly this time. Anybody want to come? Let's talk about, see if we can work that out.
Well, let's get
But,
started with.
Brevard is one place I've always wanted to, I'm sorry, Mike.
Oh, go ahead.
Brevard is a place I've always wanted to go to. I haven't been there yet. And this trip that you're talking about, that the Sassy Goose, I just looked it up online. I mean, should we check to see if anybody here would be interested in doing it in the fall? Like a show of hands?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Those are dog friendly.
I'm trying to think if they're dog friendly.
Well,
I don't know, but I
can
we can
check
find that
into
out.
I can check in that as well.
Yeah. I'll give them a call and see if there's anything. I mean, I guess, it would be nice if we could get some leaves at that time.
Yeah.
And, that may not be possible, but I know the folks there. I'll give them a call and I'll find out what dates are possible. And, we next time we talk, we'll know that. Just on, we're talking about taking trips. I'm going to go down to Pungo, which is on our eastern shore. And the reason for that is bears. There's a fellow named Mike Dunn who does a very nice Roads in Naturalist column just online. And Mike was down there last week and saw 14 bears on the day he was there. And it's just it's just a nice place to go also. If anybody's interested in that trip, let me know and we'll talk about if we can find a time that would work for all of us, both of us.
Well, Stephen, if
If
you'll
anybody's
just forward to
interested
me
in the,
anything you learn about the Sassy place, I'll make sure that it gets circulated, probably with Helen's help. But and then we'll just check back with it again once we have a little more detail.
Yeah, and I'll give you a call when I have some idea about possible dates.
All right.
And hopefully we'll get that done the next day or two.
All right.
Leaving 5:15 a.m. tomorrow for the sunflowers.
Yeah, what time are you leaving tomorrow?
5:15 a.m.
Okay.
Is there a reason for
No.
the 5:15 part of it?
for sunrise.
Sunrise. You're made of stern stuff. Good for you.
Well, Minnie Gallman and I are both going. So she dragged me there, I think 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I went. but I actually enjoyed it. So we're gonna go back.
Great. Yeah, I was planning to go, but not at 5:15. I've fallen victim to the ease of Photoshop. I could go any time of day I wanted, and then put in. I just did a little count. There were 7,324 choices as to evening sunsets that you might like to put in your site.
The other thing we
All
need to talk about is Frank's work on the next schedule for challenges. And there was an email circulated yesterday about possibilities.
Yeah, what started it was I looked at the what we have left, and let me see if I can pull up that. Yeah, as you can see, the current listing takes us up through August 29th. And then we have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 slots from September through December. So I thought maybe we should start thinking about what we're going to put in there, because we're already doing churches, so we only have 3 more left on the current one. So I had put together that list that was emailed out. And let me just take this off. So, you know, I had gone through the listing that we put together a couple of years ago, I guess, and we've been checking off the ones that we've identified and assigned. And I came up with like 13, knowing that, you know, we only need 8, but something to consider. And that was in the email. And did everybody see the email?
I'm
Yes,
looking at it right now, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, you know, like some autumn would work in nicely if we do a trip to Brevard and we do it around that time with the leaf color, that could be great. So I had just thrown out for consideration, autumn, candlelight, architecture, farm life, fences, musical instruments, photojournalism, panoramic, because Mike had mentioned that last week, that maybe we should consider that. It wasn't on the list. So ugly, it's cute. Sports action, summertime, stairs, and rust. Now, I tried to pick themes that would probably be more conducive to the period we're looking at, and also ones where we do have a lot available in our area. Like, for example, seashore wouldn't work out, or lighthouses, because we tried that one other time, but not too many people can get out there. So at this point, just want to open it up. Does anybody have any thoughts or comments on them?
I thought it was an excellent list.
Okay,
Yeah,
Thank you.
I of course, you know, sometimes, I was thinking personally, if we did sports action, can we do sports action and something else? Because I'm not the sports action person. So if you want to do sports action / something.
Mhm.
And then the other one, I thought a lot of them were good. Rust, I was kind of not so. And then the other one was with farm life. What if we do farm life / rural life? Because I feel like that's kind of, you know,
Combining,
it
yeah.
might be kind of fun to sort of do. I mean, I think with the barn thing, you know, it's farm, but maybe just also rural. But the other ones I thought were fine, and maybe other people want to do sports action. I know some of you really like that. So if you do that, maybe I'll just throw in some other pictures or something.
Well, if there's barrel racing down at the Ag Center, it'd be a good place to go, because I never thought I'd like it either, but when
Okay.
Frank and I went down there one time. it was
Well, maybe
wonderful.
if somebody gets me to go with them to do something like that, then I'll be more open to it. Rust is okay, but I don't,
Right.
some of the other ones, some of them I like so ugly, it's cute.
Well,
And
and I
also-
think we did, I don't remember when, but I have a recollection that we did rusty things before.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
All right,
Yeah, and then the other thing too, if for like panorama and photojournalism, I would kind of vote for maybe doing some kind of tips and tricks or something for both of those. So that some of us were challenged in certain photography things like panorama would know what we're doing, and also a maybe definition of photojournalism, what that be.
yeah.
So there's my opinions.
You can
Okay.
do that.
Well, I guess at this point would take Rust off the list. I mean, I have 13 here and we're only looking for 8. So I can scratch off Rust or, no pun intended.
So I have something to suggest here. I was just talking to my brother and he's in a photo group, and they had a challenge that I thought was really good. But it'd be outside of our paradigm, so we can forget about it if you want to. And that is that they did a thing that spread out over several weeks where people would find an artist, not a photographer, that they really liked. And then they would shoot photographs that were somehow reminiscent, without emphasizing, without copying the artist.
Oh,
So we could expand our artistic sensibilities. And he said it was, he really enjoyed doing it. And he said, like he said, it took 3 or 4 weeks of their time of their group to go through that.
Tom, I guess what you meant was you wouldn't go out and just take a photograph of somebody's artwork. You
No.
would, if you have a painting or something that really moves you, you could then go out and try to photograph something, something real that gives you that same feeling.
For example, he used
I can't tell you where
he
to
used
look,
Hopper,
but I
for
have seen
example.
online just that very thing. They're like Mona Lisa, and you replicate Mona Lisa with photograph.
Okay.
Except he's not talking about replicating. What he did was Hopper, for example. He's a big fan of Hopper. And well, he didn't want to go out but Hopper's kind of like about alienation. So he did things that were somewhat reminiscent, that were inspired by Hopper, without copying, without finding, like that famous. Oh, anyway.
Would he take a picture of the artwork? Would they take a picture of the artwork and then show?
I think at some point you would have to include an example of the particular artist that you found inspiring. And then you would explore that level of inspiration, not by copying it, but by somehow expressing your inspiration coming from that artist.
Timothy?
Well, I thought what you had meant was to pick a photographer and then do some work in their style. But you're talking about an artist in any other art field.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Good
was
idea.
listening to a guy. Yeah, okay, that's enough. That's enough.
Well,
As I said, it's a different
how do you want to
paradigm, and
resolve
maybe-
the choice?
Oh, I think just throw it out
challenges
there to
coming
Frank
up?
and put it in there as number 14.
And what would you call it then?
I have no idea. Art inspiration by
Inspiration.
artists. Yeah. It's complicated. I said it's outside the paradigm, but I think it would do something for me artistically that is a little different than the normal challenge.
Okay.
Right, because there's like I think I sent videos one time. There's a photographer in London who's a street photographer and shoots in black and white. I mean, that's something to try to really, get out there and kind of, follow that lead. So, that might be an example.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
As far as the
I'm having trouble figuring
Go
out what the
ahead.
consensus is. Are we going to use all of them except maybe Rust? And just
How
put
about-
them in for the next
how
however many
about,
slots?
Mike, how about, or everybody, to speed this up, just let Frank choose them. I mean, they're all they're good topics. If you want to take Rust out, that's fine, whatever Frank
I
decides.
love Rust.
Yeah.
Okay,
agreed.
well,
No, I'm just kidding.
I guess what I could do is I could leave that in there, but don't just do through the end of December, go out to January.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, do that.
And then, just put these in there and then add, the other one, the artist inspiration, put that in there, but put that out a little further to give us time to think about it. And just fill up the next slots.
Yeah,
And if it takes us out to, I would think probably the middle of February, well, there's no crime in that.
no,
Okay, all right. So what I'll do is, I'm gonna put these into that listing. And I'll try to make some sensible order in it and then send that list out and say, okay, does everybody agree with this? Or should we move one? Obviously, summertime, you're not gonna put in the middle of winter. So, try to put them in some kind of logical order and see if everybody agrees with it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
sounds good.
Okay. All
Thank
right,
you,
got it.
Frank. And Tom too, that suggestion.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that, Susan?
Oh, I was just thanking you, thanking you
okay.
and thanking Tom for his suggestion.
You're
One
welcome.
last thing before we get to 20 to 23 photos. This just in, apparently there is a meeting on the 25th at the church that will go to 11. So that takes out doing 10 to 12. And so let's set it for 11:15 to 1:15.
Okay.
So that's
All right.
11:15.
Okay, some good discussion. But let's move on to photos. Hopefully what I wanted to share is still there to share. And it turns out it's not. So just a minute. Jeez.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be sending out an email because our next challenge is water. I thought what I would do is maybe just send out the little tips and tricks that we did on filters, particularly ND filters, if you want to photograph something of moving water and give it that smooth feel. And there's a video too that I can send out. And just to kind of make you think about, what you want to do, because water is a pretty big subject, but if you want moving water, the filters will help you.
Okay.
Well, of course, I had this all set up and it's not working. And I have no idea what's happening. Well, I'm just going to have to back out of this and come back again. So give me a second. Oh, geez.
You always get it, so take a deep breath.
Yeah,
It'll
faith
work.
in you.
Share screen. I tested this before we started and it was fine.
You go.
Okay.
There's
Okay,
something that looks pretty churchy.
It
Yeah.
looks
Yeah,
like you've got
Are we
it.
there?
that looks like mine.
All right.
We're
It's
seeing
not
you
very
move-
big, I
yeah.
guess. This is a question, is it because I sent it as a smaller, as a medium file or something like that? Is that why?
Oh,
it's
Bob, it wasn't just a photo, it was everything. And
Hmm.
that's what happened.
Okay,
You got your
Anyway.
thumbnails in there.
Well, I am still having trouble. more. Hide floating. And that's done. And I can't get the, all right, here we go. Okay.
Bingo.
Bob, are you seeing your
Okay.
photo?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
It doesn't look as big as I thought it would look, but it's fine.
Oh, I may be able, there we go. That's partially just my
Okay.
controls.
Okay, great. That's a University Church on Franklin Street in Chapel Hill.
Okay,
Um,
okay. It
And
looked
the only
familiar.
thing, yeah, I wanted to get one, my goal was to get one big church. And then I got a couple others that are way different than this, but this is, the only thing I did to this was lighten it up.
Mhm.
And that was it. I didn't do much to it at all. So it was a
Okay.
fairly easy picture to take.
And,
I found, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Bob.
I found taking churches was harder than I thought it would be to get. I mean, a lot of churches are really, I looked at a lot of churches and they're pretty plain. And
Yeah.
I couldn't, it was hard for me to get something interesting. So anyway, that's it on that.
The cropping is fine. And what I'm missing this one, Bob, is a little bit of intensity, the color saturation. And it
Okay.
might be that there's so much white that the rest of it gets kind of undershadowed. No pun intended, but it's a nice photograph.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I agree with you. It didn't grab me. So
Okay. Yeah, because I look at it and I don't see anything to tell me that it was a church, whether it be a cross or whatever on the door or up above. Was there anything up above that window?
yeah,
in
there's that one window on the left up above. I think is,
Uh-huh.
I think that's but you're right. Mostly it doesn't.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's a church or it's a building at the university.
Yeah.
So
Let's look at Bob's second one. And I know exactly
nice.
where this is. That building's been,
Yeah.
that has been,
yeah,
Looks
this
familiar.
is on, yeah, Poitras. This, I guess, I don't know if it's still a church or not, but it's changing into, I think, a wedding venue or
exactly.
things for things like that.
Mhm.
Not
And
a
I always
church.
like, I go by this place a lot, going to my son's, and I always like to look at this place. I just think it's a nice location, and they've done a really nice job with it. But it fits a category as church
Okay.
with the steeple.
Is it a church in use these days or?
No, it's
No,
not.
I
It's-
like the rocking chairs of the porch, especially is what I like. I thought if it was a church, that would be great,
Yeah, I thought so too. It's just a cool little place that
Yeah,
they do a nice job with keeping it up, and
uh-huh.
it's for different events, I guess.
Now, was
So
the
did-
top of the church cut off in post-processing or?
No.
Yeah, it was hard for me to get. I couldn't get it all in. I mean, I
Maybe-
could have taken some of the shrubs off, I guess, down below.
Maybe what you could have done is gone vertical. That way you'd.
I could have done vertical, yes.
Yep.
Then
Yeah.
you'd have a steeple in there and you'd cut back on the things on the outside, but it would still tell you it's a church.
Yeah. Yeah, I could have done a couple things different, yeah.
Did you
Well,
use a
and
tripod? or
don't-
was it
don't-
handheld?
don't-
I did not. I did not use a tripod,
Yeah.
Okay.
most of the pictures I take, I have to lighten. And I think maybe this was because I took it. I believe I took it in the morning.
Okay.
Well, and don't sell it short, Bob. I mean, the photograph, I mean, we're just talking about maybe changing the ratio so it is like, I don't, Frank or whoever it was that said shooting a portrait rather than a landscape might have helped.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's a good point.
All right,
Good point.
next two are bills. Did we lose Bill?
Oh, nice.
Nice shot, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I got on the bracketing kind of tear while Frank and I were out finding this church. It's actually nestled out in the woods. It's abandoned. And by shooting from this angle, and we were there later in the afternoon, we got the ability to have some of those shadows come across. So I thought this would look good in black and white. This was, again, bracketed. I shot it fairly shallow depth of field at f4, and it was a 24mm lens. Shutter speed, I can't tell you because every image had a different shutter speed, because that's what bracketing does. And and what I did is I tried to keep it just a little bit off-centered to the left of center. And I felt like the shadows on it was going from the top right to bottom left. So that's how I tried to orient it.
Nice
I like
picture.
the foreground. You've got the expansive foreground in the front, which I like, and I do like the fact that the church is off center. It's not straight on. You've got a more dimensional view of it.
I like you did it in black and white. The church is so starkly simple. And I think, if there's a lot of colors, it would have jumbled things up and taken away from the simplicity of the thing.
The hardest part was finding it. Our GPS just wasn't leading us to it.
So we had to go for a hike and find it.
It's so dramatic, Bill. I think it's terrific.
Yeah, it's a good
like
picture.
it. Really like it. The shadows at that angle are so severe that it takes you out of the realm of the ordinary. And it's a very ordinary building. So it's a kind of a comment on the ordinariness of the building, I think.
Okay, good shot, Bob. I mean, Bill, sorry. Next one's Bill's as well. Same building? Yeah.
Same building.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's
Great picture.
Yeah, this one I just tried from a little different perspective, where I got the church further down in the frame, as well as I wanted the depth of the side of it, and then showed the expanse to the right, up into the sky. Also to the right there, you'll see the fence. That's a cemetery over there as well. And this
I wonder what that would look like in black and white.
Well, I really like it in color.
Yeah,
I like the sky and the sky in the graveyard. Juxtaposition is really interesting, and I like the framing with the trees too.
And the thing that jumped out at me with looking at is that grading over the front door. Like they're jailed in. You can't go inside this building at all. As a matter of fact, we weren't supposed to go on the property. It said, keep off, which both of us said at the time, it's kind of sad, because what if you have somebody buried in that cemetery and you can't go back there to visit them?
and the reason why I didn't go with the black and white on this, Lynn, was, well, when I looked at all the images and I saw that other one, how the shadows kind of made me feel like that's a good one for me, black and white. This one is kind of a strange coloring. This is sometimes that happens with HDR when you put a lot of images together, they become a little surreal, which is actually what I like out of it. And
how many images did you put together on this, Bill?
There were some that I took 9.
Okay.
Some of them were 5 and 3.
Okay.
I kind of lost count and track of everything.
Hmm.
The one thing that I did for half of the pictures was I forgot to turn off my vibration reduction. It was on tripod.
There's gotta be a
I like to
warning on the
offer up
camera.
my failures, and it had a. You can see in the right top the sky. I had a polarizer on it as well.
Yeah,
Ah,
nice.
Well, two good shots,
There's a
Bill.
little sadness to this.
Yeah,
This
but
next one is Stevens.
Ah,
Oh, very nice.
ooh,
wow. Where was this, Stephen?
It's about 200 yards through the woods from my house.
Wow.
Well, it's
So
a
did
different
you put-
take on the same theme.
did you put the flower there?
I did, yeah. I thought
Okay.
Good
it
touch.
was a good morning for a flower, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Nice depth of
And the
field.
statue- And you put the statue there too?
No, the statue has been there. The woods are around University Lake, and there are, it used to be no one was there at all, but mountain bikers are everywhere. And this got put there about 20 years ago.
Wow.
And then maybe 5 years ago, somebody smashed the nose off with a rock, which was left kind of lying there. But I thought in some ways, well, that's okay. But yeah, it's, I walk in the woods a lot there, and I've been more or less a Buddhist for the last 50 years or so. So it's a nice thing for me. I'm glad that it's there.
Well,
What's
it's
that
tap
cable
sharp
going
even in
across it?
close.
What's that little bit of cable on his, around his right shoulder?
Yeah, I
there?
saw that too.
Yeah, I saw that too. And I thought, well,
It's like his headset has come undone.
should I take it off or not? And I thought,
No,
generally,
no.
I mean, you leave it the way it is. That's what I
That's
thought,
interesting.
That's great.
as far as
Put
earbuds,
headphones on. But what I liked about it, if you back up a little bit, that whole area there around like forms like a little semicircle framing in the statue.
yes, yeah.
You know,
I
the
think this-
indentation.
I thought the statues was very well placed there, and they're
Yeah.
sitting on a little natural ledge there. That is,
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, I just like many things about it. It's really nice.
Yeah. Very nice.
And Stephen, I don't know what the scene is, but we have this thing in this group about horizontals, and I'm wondering if this was a tilt because of the place, or whether the camera was a little tilted down to the left.
yeah, no, it's a tilt in the rock. I
Okay.
thought about straightening it out, but then I thought, no, that's the way it is there.
Yep.
So I was,
Okay. Yeah.
trying to just kind of leave things the way they were.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But good photo.
Lovely.
And Lynn is up next.
Hmm.
Ah,
So this is the one remaining French Huguenot church in the United States.
Wow.
So this was taken at ISO 1600, no tripod, 24 millimeters, f11 at 1/800th of a second.
Wow.
That's in Charleston, I bet.
Yes, it is.
No, I just love the way that the way the center draws you into it, as well as all the curves coming off of the ceiling.
Right.
Everything just like draws your eye right down into the center.
It's really a beautiful church.
It's got that nice Gothic ceiling, and I love you obviously worked really hard to get the symmetry just so it's perfect.
Thank you.
They're very nice.
I imagine that getting the light
Hmm.
on that, having the brights not be overexposed and the darks be underexposed. I imagine that was hard to do.
Mm.
So
and you can
I'm
see,
just,
you can see the panes, the division of the panes in the windows. So they're
Mhm.
definitely not blown out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would think that would be a difficult shot to take.
so I'm descended from French Huguenots, so this church
Hmm.
particularly interested
Hmm.
me. Anyway,
Beautiful.
Well, this
And
next one is Lynn's as well.
so that's the outside. So this was taken at, let's see, ISO 8600, 24 millimeters, f11, 1/60th of a second. It was a pretty cloudy day.
What time of day was it?
It was cloudy, so you can see a little patch of blue, but there wasn't much blue around. And you can see on the street, there was kind of a big dark puddle there. I tried to get rid of some of it because it was pretty distracting.
Love the color of it.
Beautiful, beautiful
This
color, yeah.
Beautiful church and beautiful photograph.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I
I
just
also, I like that one of the doors is open. You know, normally you'd expect
Mm, 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 mm.
right.
doors not to be open, and so I think that adds to it too.
I think what
See
you're
the light
seeing is
inside.
those lights that in this picture
Yeah.
toward the right. It's the same pattern.
Mm.
It's nice they don't have a steel grating over the door to keep you out. That's another one. I love that
Alright.
color, the pink color. of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they refer to it as the pink church. So
Hmm.
Wonder why.
I have no idea.
All right, next two are Frank's. Oh, that pavillion's familiar.
Ah, wonder what that is. Yeah.
Yeah, this is obviously the same church that Bill had shot. This was when we went on that night going out looking for churches, and we saw this one listed. It was the let me see, the name of it was, I'll open up my mail. This was the Old Rock Church in Pittsburgh, and obviously it's now closed. The building, I think there was a mention in the website that the site is up for sale, but they have that grating over the door. But similar to Bill's, at that time of day, there was a nice shadows on the church. There was the shadows in the front, like angling down, and then the shadow of the tree on the side. And that just struck me because it's such a simple picture, a simple church. The only thing that told you it was that cross over the front door. And just like the shadows in there. And also too, the little American flag out in front of it, two of them.
Yeah.
But
Did you put the
Huh?
flags there, Frank?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you put the flags there?
No, the flags were there. So for a church that's not, it must be maybe somebody that went to the cemetery, put these flags in. And this was last week, wasn't it, Bill?
Yeah,
Yeah, last week. But the church kind of struck both of us, you know. It was worth, we kept getting lost. The GPS kept telling us we were at the church and we didn't. So finally, we just said, out of hell with it, let's walk down this, there was a road that had a gate across it, and we walked around it, and sure enough, there it was.
Yeah, that's back there by Powell Place, right?
Huh?
It's back by Powell Place.
it's down by O'Reilly's,
Yeah, you go in,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
then you go
Turn
all the way
right
back.
there at O'Reilly's and go past the Mexican and
So
You
there's
go
that
right
park,
past it.
there's that park there, the Mary Hayes
Yeah.
Holmes Park, yeah.
Yep.
It's down the road from that.
And so there was a no trespassing sign?
yeah, there was, I took a picture of the church in the background with the keep out sign on it. And I thought, well, that might be interesting, but I like this one better.
Y'all are gonna get shot.
To find out that you've been arrested, the two of you, you're good at this.
It'd be embarrassing to get arrested for taking pictures of a church. I mean,
Well, we've been thrown out of barns, well, you might as well get arrested.
no, just spread it around a little bit. huh?
Okay,
I called
moving
Bill,
right
yeah.
along. This one's
I called
Frank's as
Bill
well.
the outlaw. I didn't know Frank was the outlaw also.
Now this one, interesting, I was driving out to Silo City to get my oil changed.
64.
And as I'm driving along 64, I happened to look over to the right and I could see the cross up on top. And I said, wow, it's a nice looking church. It's got kind of obviously, it's St. Julia's Church. And it's
Yeah.
a lot of Hispanic population there. So I drove in. Luckily, I had my camera with me and I drove in, I walked around. The interesting thing was that steeple right there. If I shot from the other angle and I kept keeping my camera straight and level, it's almost like an optical illusion because that steeple would kind of tilt back. I wish I had one of those pictures to throw up. But then I walked around the other side and I said, well, this looks interesting because you've got this cross on the top and you got all these lines through here, different angles and levels. And you've got the statue down at the bottom, down at the lower left. And I like the light coming in from the right side on the church.
Lighting is beautiful.
Hey, Frank, did
It's a
you do
beautiful
this
church, and
as
it's
a,
beautiful inside.
did you do this as a bracket?
No, I just shot this one singly.
Yeah, because I keep looking up at the cross and
Floating.
it's
Yeah.
like a little dark area around it, like.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I didn't bracket it because I didn't have my tripod with me. So I just shot it straight. And,
Yeah, the cross looks floating.
day-
It's kind of an interesting way
Yes.
you did that.
Yeah, it's cool. I like the clouds that you captured in there too.
yeah, that adds to it. Yeah.
Great picture.
I love, it's a great church, it's beautiful inside.
My mom and dad used to attend that church.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
I've always thought the architecture was great.
yeah,
It's got like a hacienda type of feel to
yeah.
it.
It's really nice inside. Yeah, a lot of tile. Yeah,
It's all
What kind of church?
stucco.
it's the Catholic church.
Yeah, it's a Catholic church and it's St. Julia's.
Lovely.
Yep. Nicely done, Frank. Larry is up.
Ah,
Oh,
Cool.
So Bob and I had the same idea. This is the Methodist Church, University and Methodist on Franklin. And I just felt you would know it was a church, right? So I
Yeah.
didn't have to take a picture of the body of the church. And yeah, so it was completed in 1926 for those interested in that sort of thing. And yeah, they added the tower in the early 20s and they redid the church. So, but I just thought, well, it's a church, so the steeple is what really sells it.
The color
Clouds.
saturation, Larry, is just really, really great. Blue sky,
Yeah.
white
Did
clouds.
you use a
Clouds.
filter?
I'm sorry?
Did you use a filter to get that beautiful sky?
Well, I kind of played with it a little in post-production. I made it a little bit bluer. I darkened it a little and came out that well. So yeah, it worked for me. So
Yeah, composition's great. It's nice.
Looks good.
What was over to the right in this shot, Larry? To
there
the
were,
right of
you know,
the steeple.
yeah, along Franklin, as you know, there are stores and buildings over there. I had to pull that out,
Okay.
so I had to, you know what I mean? That's why I cropped it.
Yep.
To
Understood.
Yeah, that I looked at it from the left side and it was hard for me. I thought, oh, I'm gonna have to do too much work. So I that's why I didn't take the shot, but you did well.
Yeah.
well, I stood across the street. I stood across Franklin.
okay.
Well, good photo.
Great.
I like it.
And this is
This
also
is
Larry's.
All Saints. This is All Saints Chapel in I've shown a couple of other pictures. My friend rings the bells. They ring them every day. And the belfry has 8 bells in it, which are hand rung. And so I was on another taller building on the campus, and I took this. It was completed in 1959. It looks much older, but it was completed in 1959. I did crop. There are other buildings in the near there looking the same, so I did crop it real tight to the right because
Okay.
I didn't want them. And then the white on the center lower left, lower center is a tent. They were having some kind of a celebration of someone, so it might have even been a wedding. So I just shot it the way it was.
And
Well, as
Larry,
with the
what-
other
what-
one, Larry,
what's this?
the saturation is great. The clouds are great.
Yeah, I got lucky on that one.
It's like there's
Yeah,
a
take
cell
the
tower
tower
in the
out.
back.
Yeah, I was thinking about cutting that out.
Yeah, I'd get rid of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the spot healing brush would make fast work of that.
Yeah,
So is this on the UNC campus?
this is
That's
on the
Sewanee.
University of the South in Swanee, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so as I said, my friend John, he's among there are 4 bell ringers, and that's what he does. They ring just before and after the service on Sunday, but every day they ring at 5 o'clock. Once, just at 5, and they have a whole series of music that they play. It's fascinating, really. Bell ringing is really tough. You don't want to screw it up because you can never get back to where you're supposed to.
Can't unring that bell. Yeah.
Once it sounds, baby, it's out there. Of course, no one's standing around criticizing you.
All right, Larry. Good. Tom's
Nice
next.
work.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
You could probably guess this was
interesting.
Tom's, right?
So I decided to, it seems like we'd done churches fairly recently, so I decided to do church instead of churches. And this was my kind of take on church. Out of focus and in a distance. Maybe, Mike, maybe you could move your cursor there.
Oh, sorry.
That's not,
I kind of forget that you can see those.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've been really liking desaturation, working a lot with desaturation, obviously, and also what would you call it? Soft focus. Soft focus.
I love the footprints.
Make sure you had water.
It looks like a painting.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I really like the positioning of the people, the building, and the sun, that kind of triangle.
Yeah, I've been thinking about the effectiveness of minimalism in general, but also having 3 elements seems to be kind of magical.
Mhm.
It seems to
And 3
seems
leading lines.
Sorry, Bill.
3 leading
What?
lines. You got the
Uh-huh.
steps of each person, then you got the ocean bringing you right
Mm,
around. So you got kind of like 3 leading lines
mm,
going to the
mm,
triangle.
mm, mm, mm. Anyway, I liked it, and I started thinking, yeah, why does this remind me of church? And it's sort of in the distance, it's out of focus, and I was thinking of, church is quintessentially undigital. Anyway, that's it.
Tom, I wonder how much work you did on the sun. It's in the perfect place.
Yeah, it was sunrise, and if I had when I first started shooting this scene, that sun was directly behind the building, the structure. And it, you know, so I've got a whole series of the sun rising right up up into the sky. And I picked this one, and I eliminated a lot of other people and
Well, did you have to
extraneous
do
things
any,
that I thought were extraneous.
did you do anything to cool the sun down? Or was that just the way?
Yeah, I hit something. I can't remember what. I hit something and boom, it went white. And I thought, whoa, that's hot. And I can't remember what I hit, but something. That's pretty much the way I do this stuff, which is one reason why I hesitate to teach people, because the main message is goof around.
Yeah. One thing doesn't
Just keep
work,
pushing.
try something different.
keep pushing buttons and see what
Yeah.
happens.
Well, typically great shot.
That worked.
Oh, wow.
Again, this is my take on church. This is an old church in Buffalo, where I grew up, and this is the organ. What do you call it? Organ rack or organ loft or
Pipes.
something. The pipe rack,
Yeah.
loft.
Pipes.
And you know, it's an old church with a huge big organ, and it's a giant church with four major rose windows. And it was pitch dark and it's totally out of focus. And it just reminded me of, and I grew up going to churches of this truly amazing, beautiful environments that were completely captivating to me as a child. And so it took me back to that mysteriousness of spending hours in these old churches from I guess a bygone era. And you don't find churches like that around here. So I thought, wow,
No.
this is pretty cool.
Well, in the background,
it's,
stained glass.
Yes, that's
The
a big
window,
rose
yeah.
rose window, and I, in order to get enough light into the whole scene, at some point I just hit something, and that whole rose window went abstract like that.
Psychedelically
so-
abstract.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, which is appropriate for growing up Roman Catholic.
I'm with you. I'm feeling you, man.
We need to talk, brother. But it was great as a child. It was obviously the mumbo jumbo they were up there doing. I had no idea what they're talking about, but boy, you can
No.
sure look around and see some great stuff.
Yep.
That
But,
is a beautiful shot.
Yep.
Mm.
All right, Helen is up next, and there's a quick first to give perspective, and then I think the one she really wanted to shoot. That's the first one, long view,
Mm.
and there's a closer one.
Mm.
A Greek
Nice,
church.
huh? Nice.
And then the last one. Are they not three?
Yeah, there are three. If I could just do it.
Oh, okay. All
There it
right,
is.
that is, yeah, all right.
Mm.
I wanted to show the way the sun happened to hit. The shadow was just perfect all the way along. And I felt like the cross and the top of the church didn't mean much if you didn't see the rest. I took lots of different angles. I didn't like shooting straight on like that, but I did like the way the sun was hitting exactly where I would have wanted it to be had I planned it. I was shooting at about 44 millimeters, f11, 800 with ISO 400. The reason the far away is unedited totally, well, all of them are really unedited except for cropping. At some point, I'd like to talk to somebody about, it was a perfect shot. I did, I think, dehaze to it and introduced all sorts of, well, if you consider them artifacts or not, but it was pixelated. The shot was ruined. So when you see the one from the distance, it's completely unedited.
My first take on this, Helen, was that I like the last one the best. But as I'm looking
Reflection.
at them today, I think the middle one is the best.
This one you mean, right, Mike?
I'm sorry,
Can you
Frank?
do the other?
Is this the one you're saying that you like the best? The one
Yeah,
that's
the
on there
middle
now?
one, not the long distance or the close up. Although I like the close up, but for some reason this one grabs me now.
The thing that grabs me on this was all the shapes inside this picture.
Yep.
I
Lots of them.
Can you show the first one again? The distance one? Yeah, okay.
Okay.
There is just so many different shapes. The
Yeah.
church
Oh, yeah.
the church looks like it grew, but it's a fairly new church. It's been built in the last 10, 15 years. And there were other angles that were better, as I said, to show more angles in the church. But the way the sun is hitting directly really grabbed me, and that's why I used those two. I was able to line the shadows up perfectly, and
I like the reflection of the cross there.
yeah, that's what I was struck by and why I used that one. So
I
there's
wonder
really,
with
there's
the
really
original-
nothing other than cropping done to them.
With the original, if the crop was done vertical, what would it look like?
Yeah.
I'm just, I don't know.
To cut that wing of the church off, that breaks the symmetry,
Mm.
the bisymmetry, really.
So I spent all this time peeling the doors over there on the right. They're all messed up. And then I got the picture, and it was just all pixelated, and I do not know what happened. So I just threw that one in for context. It's a lovely church, and
Well, it shows what cropping
Where
can
is it,
do.
Helen?
yeah.
Yeah.
The doors are golden. It's just a. Can you pull up on that one and show the doors? It's the front doors, not those side doors. Yeah. It's
Oh, yeah. They're starting to come in now.
very interesting place. It's on 751 south of Durham.
Yeah, I thought that's where I'd seen that church.
Yeah, isn't that by South Point?
Yeah,
Hmm.
right near.
Yeah.
It's a
Uh,
Greek Orthodox.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think so.
I did use a tripod, and yay for me, I actually used it. I've given up trying not to do handheld, just didn't go work for me. So,
all right, good work, Helen. Next up is
Yeah,
Chuck,
nice.
if it wants to go to Chuck. This is amazing to me.
Oh,
Wow.
That's
That's,
St. Michael.
That's an amazing place. That's Mont Saint Michel. Jennifer and I visited France about 3 weeks ago, and we went with a tour group. And anyway, we stayed overnight on Mont Saint Michel, which gave me the opportunity early in the morning to take this photograph. They've changed the way I guess the access to this chapel, or to it's a mission. It's 1,000 years old, and it's a rock that's in a kind of a bay. on the north coast of France. The Tour de France has come to visit this location several times. It started there, I think, in 2016, because they changed the way the tide comes around. So it only is surrounded by water when not only is it a high tide, but it has to be a full moon, and there's some other calculations about the positioning of the moon to Earth. It isn't just a full moon, but it's a particular arrangement of alignment that causes the water to come up, to the rock, to the walls there. So, it's interesting because it's it's like a battlement, but it's also a chapel. And we did attend a sunrise service later that morning at the very top there. There's a lot of stairs, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful service, and just a really interesting medieval city or town,
Hey,
Well,
Chuck?
and Chuck, one of the things I like
Chuck.
about this is even though the spire is in the middle, the balance
Yeah.
is really just perfect with the way there's a little bit of background on the left side, but more background on the right side that you can actually see the sea.
Yeah, that's why I left it in on the right side, because I wanted to include a little bit of the water there. Yeah, and I was just using my kit lens. It was an 18-55, and let's see, what did I shoot this one? The 18 was at the lowest focal distance, and it was 3.6 at an 80th of a second. And I was shooting all my photographs from this trip. I shot them as JPEGs. I kind of wish now I'd done them in RAW, but anyway, I did it in JPEG, and that was fine. And the next one, I was doing a lot of shooting inside of cathedrals and so forth, buildings, and so I was using aperture priority, just leaving it wide open and letting it even choose the ISO as well. But anyway, so that was an amazing place, and it was really very windy there. The evening before, I was out taking some pictures, and I was a little concerned I was going to get sand in my camera workings, because it was unbelievably windy, and sand was blowing everywhere. But I lucked out.
It's a great picture.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great
Very
place.
nice. Very nice.
It's kind of hard to screw it up. Yeah.
So Chuck, if you, what was to the left? If you go, when I first, contrary to
wow.
what Mike was saying, I was thinking it's too bad that because I love the shape of the rock. The way it flows.
That's where the road access comes in. That goes. It's like a causeway, like an elevated road.
Yeah.
And
So if you cut that ocean off, you'd lose the idea that eventually it floods.
Yes.
So I think you're right. You have to have that. It has to be centered. But you lose the idea of the shape of the island, of the rock.
Yes. And some of the shots that I've seen after being there that I think are the best, and I have one like it is from a great distance where there's tidal wetlands that you can see, and this just rises up out of these green tidal wetlands, and the best ones are when there's like some cattle in the foreground and so forth grazing. And those are just amazing. But we were approaching it in a bus, and I did take a shot like that through the bus window, so it's not the cleanest image, so I thought this one was better, but
it's beautiful.
It's a good shot. I mean, excellent.
Thank you.
Very.
Ooh.
And then this is in a town again in the north of France, and it's a cathedral, Saint Stephen's or Saint Etienne, and this is one of the side altars, and it was really hard to not get distortion if I tried, for lens distortion, and if I tried to straighten it up a little bit, or reverse the camera distortion, then sometimes it changes the crop too much. But and the only thing I didn't like about this images that the center window was blown out. I did a little bit of I did a selection of that window and then changed the highlight to take it down. So it looks better than the original photograph, but it's it's just amazing, the stained glass, and I just really love the Gothic structure and the way things were painted. So anyway, that's just a sample of some of the stuff that we were looking at.
Well, you know, the
Wow.
thing about distortion, I mean, the railing up towards the altar is absolutely flat. And I don't,
Mhm.
maybe getting rid of all that distortion is not a good thing. It gives a kind of a perspective that you'd miss.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
you have
That's-
cropped it in a way that it is symmetrical.
It's
I-
pretty close. I can see now where I didn't get the windows exactly right, but yes, thanks. I felt like trying to change the distortion was not helping,
Yeah,
and it was
exactly.
better just to leave it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like quite a trip, Chuck.
It was the trip of a lifetime. It was.
Well, I went back into the archives for a couple of mine.
There you go. I was wondering if anybody was going to do that. Awesome.
That's the Duke Chapel.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
What at UNC we call the height of pretension.
Ah. Now, is this HDR or what have you
Oh,
done
yeah,
to?
yeah. It is. And there's a little bit of I don't know what to call it, chromatic distortion around the trees towards the bottom, but not a whole lot.
Yeah.
And it is pretty
It's
sharp.
beautiful.
Whoops.
Beautiful.
Nice
It is a
picture.
beautiful church.
Fantastic, Mike. That's beautiful.
What did
And
you,
then-
what did, tell us about what you did with the color, because that's sort of amazing. I mean, the sky is just so blue and
I
The
like
red
blue
doors.
skies. And you know,
Yeah.
I didn't do anything on this one that I don't do on every one. I didn't go back to my original files, but it's at least 3 exposures. And inside Photomatix Pro, there are a bunch of presets that you can look at, and I'm sure I went through those, but you know, the finish work was on Elements. I don't think I accentuated the blue any. It was kind of midday, and it was just that's the way the sky looked to me. But
Clear, very clear day.
amazing.
and the other one, I think I had a monopod. Was not a tripod, but the next one was taken from almost exactly the same spot. And that's infrared.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that's really cool.
Yeah. Wow.
The only thing extra that I did to this, that in the that the tree on the right hand side did not grow between these 2 shots. But I borrowed some foliage from someplace, and that's what's poking in on the right hand side.
Oh, you added it. That's cool.
Oh, nice.
I don't know what, it just looked more balanced that way to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
Yeah.
don't do much in infrared and haven't done any in a while, but it's different.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Both of those pictures are so amazingly sharp. It's just amazing to me.
Yeah.
Well,
it
and
pops. It just
Susan, this one was
pops.
taken with my D80. The first good digital camera I bought, and that goes back to, I don't know, 1990. The camera does, the picture doesn't go back that far, but I had it converted to infrared because I wasn't using it otherwise. But There are a couple of extra shots since we have a few minutes. This was an extra from Bob.
Yeah, that's in Hillsborough. It's across from Hillsborough Barbecue. And I'm sure it's not being used as a church anymore, but it is inhabited by people. It looked like there were some curtains on the side wall. But it was a church, and I thought, well, this is something a little different.
Wow.
Adaptive reuse.
Yep,
Wonder what that one would look like in black and white.
good point.
I like that. Best
There's
of
some
first.
good contrast there. Yeah, it would be interesting.
And this one's from Larry.
Oh,
Oh,
nice. Nice.
Yeah, so this church is one of the oldest in North America. It was built in 1723, and it's in the old city of Quebec City.
I thought it was familiar. I've seen that, yeah.
And there's always crowds in there. I mean, you can't, you know, the crowds are what they are because it's in a plaza, and this church gets lots of visitors. It's a seafaring church, and but yeah, so the 1723 is when it was built. It's been refurbished, obviously, over the years, but the inside is very plain and very narrow.
Yeah.
I don't have a picture of that, but yeah, the crowds are just, you can't go there without crowds. So I thought, well, the colors of the shirts, I said, really popped it. So, you know, I'll use it, right?
And a good blue sky in this one, Larry.
Yeah, it was a little, you can see the sun was, must have been at noon or something, because the sun was really coming in. So I darkened it as much as I possibly could to get a little bit of the blue out.
All right. This one's back to Chuck.
Nice. Very nice.
That's the same cathedral, Saint Etienne, and just another side altar. And I can't. I wish I knew exactly what story it was depicting, or of course the stained glass. You read them bottom to top, left to right. Jennifer's telling me this might be the Chapel of Jacques, which I don't know. That doesn't mean anything to me.
He's like a big guy in Bourges.
Oh yeah, he was like a patriarch in Bourges and probably paid for a lot of the cathedral. But anyway, just stunning architecture and colors, and it was fun to photograph them.
I love how the gray from I love how the gray in the foreground pillars turns to that kind of purple in the vault up there.
I know. Yeah, I was struck by that too.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay. Well, that
Thank
was
you,
a
Mike.
lot of pictures.
Yeah.
It's good.
a lot of good pictures.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to the beginning and when the flicker thing's going to happen at the church, it's going to need to be from 11:15 to 1:15. Hopefully somebody will show up, and look for stuff from Stephen about Brevard, and it may come from me or it may come from Helen, but there'll be some additional information coming on that. So,
Nice.
all right, folks, good
And
meeting.
if anybody wants to get together and talk about affinity, I don't know. Call me.
Okay.
Call me on the telephone. They're really remarkable apparatus. You can have extended sentences, and
Do
My
you
my
still,
phone
do you-
number,
do you still use a phone that you've got a crank, Tom?
no, but I do use one that has a dial.
Okay.
Of course you do.
And it works when the power is out.
That's good, yeah.
All
Bill
right.
has a party line.
Have a good rest of your week, y'all.
Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
Mike.
You guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.